And we're live. Welcome to Earful of Dirt, the Major League Rugby podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Corey Munson, coming to you live from Iowa. I'm joined, as always, by Aaron Castro in Arizona and Liam Madigan-Freed in Houston. Josh Fredlin is behind the camera, hanging out in the comment section on YouTube here, so be sure to hit him up with your questions, comments, thoughts, and general abuse. So, fellas, how was your week?
Specifically the abuse. For when it comes to Major League Rugby, it was some pretty good stuff, I gotta say. But in regards to everything else, spring break, so grad school we got to watch 10 rugby matches over the weekend and 4 baseball games. So got after it. I wouldn't say we're completely covering college rugby, but we are around. And, I wonder about the D1A rankings. I sent an email in and said, hey, how do we get a vote? Because, there's a team in like the mid, between 15 and 20 that is ranked, that has only played one collegiate fixture. And then we've got some other teams with winning records that aren't in the top 25. So it's kind of weird. But Grand Canyon thumped San Diego State. It was like 86-10. When I went to that game, that was pretty good to see, especially them rebounding from a similar number, but given to them by St. Mary's. It was like 82-17 in the favor of St. Mary's College, which is number 1 in D1A, I think.
Nice. Well, I haven't really been able to catch up on a lot of college rugby lately. It just makes me nostalgic for that life I left behind a few months ago. But other than that, though, I've had a pretty busy couple of hours. The team didn't around 3 o'clock, and so I wasn't able to get a hold of the footage until 5 o'clock. And so up until about 20 minutes ago, when I joined onto our video chat, I'd just been editing game film, first for our game versus Seattle, and then I'm editing Utah versus Rooney ahead of our Utah match that's coming up. I still got a little bit of that to go, so it's going to be a long night after this podcast concludes.
Well, we appreciate you being here, Liam. Thanks for giving up some of your free time for that.
Or I do it grudgingly.
No free time. Awesome, guys. Well, for those of you who are new to the podcast, we do this every single Monday night here on YouTube, where we discuss news, rumors, and all things Major League Rugby, which is the United States Professional Rugby Union. It gives us the chance to talk through the issues, hear from the league, players, teams, and team leadership, and check in with our friends from across the U.S. rugby scene, which I think we've talked about this before, but we haven't been doing a great job checking in with people this season. Maybe second half here, we need to make some calls and see if we can get some guests on now and then. Anyway, with all that said, Aaron, what are we talking about this week?
Well, on the weekend, the America's Rugby Championship wound down. New York traveled to Utah in dominating fashion. Austin Elite continues to sort of founder, except, they did show some life this week, unlike last week. And then Houston, what I have to say is probably their best game of the season, really just couldn't close it out. And Toronto upset San Diego Legion. They scored 24 points in a row. Jeez.
That was a heck of a comeback. We'll go through that one for sure. Yeah, so if we start things off, I think we should probably hit on Friday night's wrap-up of the ARC, where the U.S. Managed to squeak past Canada in Seattle. It was a Canadian home game on U.S. soil, so you can take from that what you want. But from the sounds of it, Canadian Hate Week worked. It took literally all game for the U.S. to manage to win the game. They finally scored near the death thanks to a line break by Mikey Teo and a try from Ruben De Haas. The Eagles finished the ARC with a 3-2 record. They scored wins over Canada, Brazil, and Chile, and suffered losses to Uruguay and Argentina 15s. So, Aaron, talk us through the Can-Am match.
It's one of those games where you're just like, I guess we talked about the World League last week, and to really sort of touch on that, because World Rugby put out their little video last week to make it all look like spiffy and try to say, hey, we're going to have promotion and relegation. Please do not break out your spear and try to roast us. Like, and really, it was in this.
Can you do the rest of the show in that voice?
Well,
dude, I'll Venmo you like $10 right now if you just keep it up.
And then, because everyone wanted to like roast World Rugby last week, and it was just rather hilarious. But it got worse, sort of, in that, well, if it went the way it was going to, I mean, Canada's current world ranking would actually put them in the competition with us in the same division, thank gosh, but where they placed them originally put them in Division 3, and I think that's a really detrimental view of, not this series, but that you would just destroy regional rivalries if teams weren't all in Tier 1. So, and as we see, sometimes the Canadians have risen to the occasion, even though we remain undefeated in this series with, I think, 2 draws since 2013, but we have not lost a single match against Canada since 2013. They rose to the occasion. It was a bit of a nail biter. Our scrummaging was better, but we still had a lot of issues on defense. Our set piece continues to need some work in the lineup. It was very combative. It was good to see Ben Landry come back and get to work in the set piece. It was, I think we've been missing a second threat throughout this whole tournament, because we really haven't had the chance for Nick Chavetta and Greg Peterson to gel together at times. So that Ben Landry put in a lot of work on the weekend. Performances that stand out, Hinko Hammerscheiss, man. His work rate is just a bit wild when you think about it. The side that started was built off the side that, had a bad match against Uruguay. Some guys were cut. They did not perform well, and you probably know who those are if you compare the match rosters. One of the great things about this weekend is we're really seeing a young prop blossom in David Aunu, who is in the Toulouse Academy. And I was talking with someone about what he's been doing, and I said, is he going to be able to get enough senior match time? Because if you look at where we are at Loosehead Prop, not only could he be on the squad, which I think he's going to be on the squad, but based on who else we have playing a lot of Loosehead Prop at test level, it's Chance Wengleski is the other guy. And then, and he's in college, right? So you look at Aunu has played in the top 14. I think he's played 2 or 3 times, and he had a 40-minute shift in the Champions Cup, so he can carry the ball. He can scrum. He's in a great environment. Like, when he's not playing with the senior side, he's with the Espoir side in the Espoir League. And it really shows you the quality of coaching and the quality of competition that he's been getting in France for Stade Toulouse, and what he was able to do in these last 2 tests. I understand using our kicking game to play field position, and this time we executed pretty well compared to when we played Uruguay. But one thing I saw Canada do often was run their attack, and maybe that's because they didn't have confidence in their own kicking game, and that wasn't part of their game plan, because we've really seen them struggle at times with that. Our ball handling, again, was pretty bad, especially in the second half. When you look at how much possession we had in the final 30 minutes, it was pretty much in Canada's half the whole way. You knew eventually we would break that wall, and but we kept coughing it up. Someone said, based on where Canada was, I'm kind of surprised that they didn't win it in the last 2 minutes of the game. But like I said, in the final 30 minutes of that game, I think we had it 85%. So something like 27 minutes. I think my beer math is correct. We were in their half and we were close. And Ruben DeHaas's ball out of a ruck. Like his service out of the breakdown is insane. It's super flat and it's super fast. So you better be willing to catch that ball and not cough it up. And, when we didn't, we were able to break the game line. When we did cough the ball up, it gave Canada possession and they were in position. There was a bad tactical decision with Will McGee, and Captain Blaine Scully saying, yeah, let's kick it. But was it really a bad tactical decision? I think he took a little bit too much stick for this. 2 inches, I guess 3 inches to the left, and you get the penalties converted. So for want of 4 inches, like he had the range, it didn't go wide right. It just it nicked the goalpost, and we didn't get it. But it really didn't matter because we won by 5 points with a critical try to end it. So when it comes to Canada, I know our friend Brian Ray at America's Rugby News will be saying, "Hey, they were under strength, and you guys were mostly at full strength." But well, no, he's not going to say that. But he said and that has more to do with our depth and Canada's non-depth. That you take away 6 guys from Canada, which I think the difference makers for them really, DTH Vandermerv, he's out injured. I don't, based on the injury, Vandermerv is probably not available until after World Cup warm-ups, after the PNC. So that would give him maybe 1 match to warm up for the World Cup. And then Tyler Ardron and Evan Olmstead. Evan Olmstead couldn't knock on with the Auckland Blues. He was in their extended training squad, so kind of like a practice player that you have in practice squad player that you have in the NFL, but they just weren't able to sign him, and he's now with Newcastle. But to an extent, this guy was available for Kingsley to call up, and Kingsley should have called him up. Whereas Tyler Ardron is basically a starter where he's at, and getting him called up out of Super Rugby could negatively affect his pro career, but he will be available for the Pacific Nations Cup. So those are your 3 big difference makers. And Brett Buchenbaum also, he is a very high level player, plays in the championship. He would have been available. So I don't know I really don't know what Kingsley's process was for this. And if it was to develop depth, well, you've only got so many games until the World Cup, and the difference in process for us versus them is Gary Gold is about consistency and getting your lineup as consistent as possible. So if you don't have a consistent lineup that you will use at the World Cup, you won't be able to identify your holes. So, yeah.
Hey man, as long as we got that Can-Am trophy, I'm all about it. If we're not going to be winning the ARC, there has to be some sort of consolation prize for the United States. We have to feel like we're winning something. So, we beat Canada.
That trophy is one of the coolest rugby trophies I've seen out there, at least contested against the United States versus anyone, because there really aren't that many cool ones. But as far as what a trophy is concerned, it's a really cool trophy to have. And
it's a nice aesthetic. It's a nice aesthetic. I like it.
Okay, quick pop quiz: trophy or plate or shield?
I was gonna say shield
or a plate.
Yeah.
What's your preference?
I totally prefer trophy. I guess I'm old school like that, But at least you can Valhalla with a fucking shield. With a shield. Sorry.
Cup, because you can drink out of it. However, if the trophy is dope, like the Can-Am trophy or the Asian 5 Nations trophy, if anyone wants to look up one of the coolest rugby trophies out there that we don't compete for, the Asian 5 Nations is a great trophy. It's got a bunch of dragons on it. It's really cool.
That sounds awesome. The second game of the weekend, let's take us on to Saturday, was Austin traveling up to Glendale.
Whoa. We gotta back up.
Oh, crap. I missed an entire game there. Let's try this again. The second game of the weekend was Rooney traveling to Utah to face off against the Warriors. The third game of the weekend was Raptors.
In the script, you say Rooney lays the smackdown on the Warriors. I like that a lot better.
Well, I mean, I think that's an accurate description. Rooney pretty much brought it, and it was another round of snow rugby over in Utah, although not nearly the whiteout conditions that we saw last week. Liam.
Mm-hmm.
Rooney traveled to Utah for a Friday night game, and they had no problems downing the Warriors 47-21. So, Liam, you want to lead us off with kind of telling us what you saw?
Yeah, so like I said at the beginning of the show, I was just editing this game before I signed on. One thing I noticed that is Utah, they have this really weird habit of looking good while getting absolutely like nothing done. You know, and like I know some of the guys on that team, I don't want to put them down, but you know, like you have Vani Colo, like, you know, every single game putting on some crazy ass footwork, but nothing ever seems to get accomplished. You know, like it's a pretty inefficient, offense, like in a lot of respects. But goddamn, is there some really good, really cool fireworks to go along with it. Throughout the game, there was a lot of ball handling errors. On obviously on both sides, being a snow game, but I saw a lot more for Utah. What was killer though is that they would commit them during the onset of a lot of starter plays. You know, out of basically, like out of the set piece, a line out scrum, what have you. And so they would lose a lot of these opportunities to create some momentum in offensive phases just because they would be immediately turning it over or going into the scrum where Rooney had the, quite clear advantage. Despite a few of those aforementioned handling errors, though, I thought Rooney's line work in the passing game was really good despite the conditions. They were able to get the ball out to a lot of their playmakers, and they played good rugby. You know, it was at least entertaining and it was efficient. And there's, I just want to say Dylan Fawcett is one of my favorite rugby players in MLR right now. The dude is an absolute beast on the field, both defensively and offensively. But god damn, do I love to see that dude make some tackles because he puts his body into it. It's a really, really good form tackles on that guy.
This is what you expected. I was just looking at some of the stuff that we have access to with our jobs and
jibs.
So does Utah in a lot of ways remind you of Glendale? Glendale at the beginning. Glendale, the first 3 matches they played.
That's a lot better of a comparison, and yeah, it's kind of like how I said, where like Utah is like they look good while not being very productive, and I felt like that was Glendale. A lot of Glendale's issues in the in the beginning of the season, where they would have these great offensive phases, they would have a few splash plays, but they weren't good at at maintaining possession. And they had a lot of issues, especially in discipline. A few of those discipline issues still show up, but they've kind of gotten so that it doesn't completely ruin a lot of these productive offensive phases. Utah, it's not so much their discipline; it's just errors. It's knock-ons. It's overshooting in the lineout. It's a lot of these things that it's hard to win a rugby game if you consistently make these kinds of mistakes.
Well, they're definitely not similar to Glendale in the amount of penalties they concede. I will tell you that.
Nah.
But this game really expected it. Snow rugby was nice. I'm loving this snow rugby. Keep it coming. I know at least one of our Canadian friends seems to hate it, but I am all about the inclement weather games, whether it's in the mud or not. Snow rugby is the second kind. just do it in a little bit warmer weather. You know, it was actually pretty nice on Friday. As I understand from some of our listeners, if you had a blanket and some hot cocoa, it was a good time. You know, when it comes to this, it's I guess the inside information is you know, Mike Tolkien. He's a hard man, and well, New York, they practice outside. So something about being tougher than your opponent, or coaches just making players suffer in poor conditions so that they perform in good conditions. You know, their attack really seemed to be humming along. Cahal Marsh ends up going off early with an injury, and we see something really cool in Chris Mattina being able to slot over in at fly half, because I've been wondering what their answer would be if Cahal Marsh went down when it came to a reserve fly half. And Chris Patino, you know, he went 5 of 6 in goal kicking. His distribution in attack was very well. You know, when it came to running that back line, and his defense was also very good. Utah, you know, I think they're finding their way, but they just didn't. They didn't take this one. However, outside of John Cullen, though, I think he's a real engine for them. As was he captain on Friday, or was he vice captain? John Cullen's a big leader for them. I think he's a sergeant in the Army National Guard. So there you go. But for some of these guys, it was rough. Their scrummaging is doing pretty well, but whose scrummaging is actually getting very good is New York's, because their first couple of games, their props were not having a good time. They were getting beat. And it's really important the longer the season goes that your prop stable is able to provide that attacking platform for your scrum half and your number 8 to really run that set piece attack on restarts. You know, I could go through this. You know, it's really nice to have a center that can blitz through the line, take an intercept try. I think it was 65 meters in Mark O'Keefe. He's also a very good distributor, working with Cahal Marsh and Connor Wallace-Sims as providing the try assist to Connor Wallace-Sims for the first score of the game. So he was involved in 3 different tries, 2 of his own. You know, he really got after it on the weekend.
It was a lot of fun for sure. It's always good to see some of that snow rugby. Gotta love it.
Oh, yeah.
All right. As I was saying earlier, Austin and Raptors faced off. This one was in Glendale. And it went pretty much how you'd expect Austin versus Raptors game to go. I kind of compare it to that guy, you know, in life who's a decent person. And just no matter what they do, nothing ever works out for them. Nothing goes their way. That's kind of Austin this year, honestly.
I feel kind of attacked, Corey. Not gonna lie, man.
So yeah, Austin was in Glendale on Saturday and was handed a almost 20-point loss. 38-19 was the final. Aaron, you want to start us off on this one?
Yeah. What's there to again? Another one of those things that you expect. Raptors put up another match over 1,000 meters made. Austin had to make over 200 tackles. Oh my! I think the Raptors are starting to come a little bit. When they make turnovers, it's not really affecting them because they're able to convert at the right time. Their scrum is working very well. When it comes to their lineout, Austin's usually had a pretty good lineout. But guess what? Brendan Daly goes up and battles against Rika Swart and the captain, Ben Mitchell, and steals one from them, really disrupting their set piece, whether it was being able to take a steal away or just make it a bad lineout overall. Glendale's getting after it there when it comes to how their kicking game is concerned. Look at like Dylan Tykado Simpson is able to run the ball very effectively and then put it into play. He had over 300 meters from his kicks. It's just, I guess I'm really concerned about what happens when their players come back. Like Carlo Denician, Adam Malifa, they're really running this attack very well. And then you're going to have guys like Malon Aljabori come back, who wasn't starting, but he was coming off the bench. And then you're going to have, Hanko Hamashais, who just had a really good tournament in the ARC over 5 games. And, how are these guys going to bed in back into this side? Are they still going to be the Glendale Raptors that has started to hum? Will they be stronger? Definitely. I think that experience from all 4 of those players, especially in Will McGee and Sean Davies, is going to be an upgrade, especially for between Sean Davies and Carlo Denician. Adam Malifa, he's an old warhorse, so he probably has a little bit more experience than Will McGee. But I didn't know that Autumn Malifa was going to be this good. So that really says that, if they do need an answer at fly half, they've got Autumn Malifa backing Will McGee up. And they've also got Robbie Petzer, who can play fly half at a high level if you need him to. So Austin, Mo Abdulmanam, like, whoa. He had 4 breakdown steals. Like,
he's a very large individual too.
They're not the same, but I would say he and Hanko are roughly like the same type of player. Hanko's a little bit taller, but they're big. They are big guys for their size, for their height. And, they play with this reckless abandon. Mo had, I think, 14 tackles. Hang on. I don't want to be wrong here. He had 19 tackles. So but like I said, there were plenty of opportunities to tackle because Glendale had over 1,000 meters made.
And Glendale, so this might not be surprising. Glendale actually had 58% of the possession advantage and a full 7 minutes more of attack time. So they obviously had more opportunities. They were great at retaining possession. Despite the couple of breakdown steals that Mo had throughout this game, Austin really couldn't force any kind of turnovers or get the wind blowing into their own sails when it came to actually having the ball in hand. I was saying to some people earlier this week, Austin, they have really talented pieces. They have really good looking pieces, but I think all those pieces belong to different puzzles. It's like that big box that everybody had in their game room as a kid, that's just, you have pieces of the puzzle that's like thrown into this box, but like one's like a Thomas the Tank Engine puzzle. The other one's like, some big, beautiful, like, landscape. And both those puzzles, like, they look great, but you can't fit them together. So something's not gelling in Austin, and it's not looking good. Even though, like I said, they have players with all the talent in the world. But
I will point out that this was their best game of the season by far when it came to how their attack worked. But it still was in spurts at the wrong time. Their defense has been there, but they've been able to get nothing done. Do we see something? Like I said, they're going to win some games, but their winnable games are becoming less and less at this point. So with that long homestand that they've had, they're gonna need to figure it out very soon.
Yeah, honestly, the only games that like I can truly see Austin winning at this point is their upcoming matchups with Houston and Utah. If those teams keep going on the tracks that yeah, those teams are just like, sorry, I'm looking at the freaking chat on the side. Stop that, Aaron. Yeah, no, but I can see Utah getting 2 to 3 wins on the season. I don't see a winless season. God forbid that happens. But But when it comes to San Diego, Toronto, Rooney, Glendale, I don't think it's going to be happening. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting now that every team is playing each team twice. How are teams going to respond when the rematches come about? That's going to be really cool to see.
I will point out that other than, I would say the rematches, other than like, maybe not even New York, basically all the rematches come in better weather. Except for if you were playing, no, I would, someone said, what happens when NOLA goes on the road? I was like, well, they're basically going to get the same weather that they had all year, which was kind of nice for rugby, rather than last year playing in hell.
You underestimate the weather in the Northeast, my friend. Believe me, people
in May.
Shh, do not tempt the rugby gods, you fool. Dude, I've seen snow in June in my lifetime, man. You don't even...
I mean, I've seen snow in June, but that was in Montana, so...
That's a different situation.
I mean, you've probably seen parking meters like melt like on the sidewalk, have you not? Isn't it that? I've heard stories of your heat down there.
Well, they don't melt because most of them are made out of metal, but they, depending on the day, they stop working. Tell you that.
Hey, Josh who's Denver based, was actually at the match. I was curious, Josh, what you saw at the Raptors match there.
I will say Mo is definitely, in his first start, is already one of the better Austin Elite players. Frustration can definitely be seen boiling over, as evidenced by Tiana Rasmus throwing the ball in John Ryberg's face. That was an interesting moment.
How about John Ryberg getting a haircut?
No, how about Cecil Garber getting a freaking haircut, man? I don't even...
I'm not going to lie. I didn't really notice that big of a difference. I also wasn't paying that much of attention either.
Well, he had, let's just say, his like combo with his haircut and the beard. It was, I would say he looked like this Romanian referee that refs out here. It's kind of funny, but yeah. So there you go.
No, it was pretty much Glendale from the start. I mean, Austin had their chances. They had their momentum going for them, and then they almost just gave it away. Rodrigo Silva scored in the corner, I believe. Yeah, it was Rodrigo Silva. And they had the opportunity to pile onto that, and they didn't. They let Glendale walk into halftime with the penalty kick on the halftime mark. So that's just Austin for you.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Josh, what's attendance been like for the first two games this season?
Last week's attendance was actually surprising considering how crappy the weather was. I'd be generous saying 1,000. This week I'd say 1,500, 2,000.
I thought attendance looked like, compared to last week, it looked pretty good. Comparatively, when I think about what the attendance was last year.
The hard camera side, it definitely was. Aaron, and to answer your question, no, they will not do anything about the VIP section.
So it's going to be $75 a match.
Last year it was like 110.
Oh, I thought it was 75. It is, I would say, I don't know what you get in the VIP section. All I know is it's expensive, and there is like a 600-700 seat gap.
I'd say maybe 4 to 5.
Whatever. There's like 6 people sitting in the section, and
that's because the rest of them are all inside at the bar.
Oh well, yeah. I will say the hospitality in there. When I did go in there after the semifinals, the hospitality in there is kind of off the chain. They've got everything going. It's like a club. I think the glitter and is it the rugby and is it the Rux and glit?
The glitter and grit.
The glitter and grit club. There you go. You've got the
not
the women.
Gonna lie, that kind of sounds sounds like a strip club, man.
Well, it's
I
their
told you I worked at the Glitter and Grit. Would you be like, Liam, are you a stripper?
Glitter and Grit is their women's outreach program. That's it. That's all I'm gonna say.
I think it was the Denver Post had an article on maybe it was one of the TV channels stations up in Denver, but they were talking about Glendale as a city, and the headline was something like 3 strip clubs, 2 dispensaries, and 1 house. This is Glendale.
That sounds freaking dope, dude.
Okay,
Yo, hold up.
If we're gonna talk about how Glendale is laid out, so you've got Infinity Park, and then you've got these 3 luxury high rises right next to it, and then you go up another street, and there's like all the stores. And so Target and a bunch of other stores together, and across the street is the Holiday Inn. And, on that road where all the stores are at is your 3 strip clubs. Like, for the record, you can walk from one end of Glendale to the other in 15 minutes. And it's longer. Yeah. So it's a rectangle. It's not very big.
But hey, they got a pro franchise, so
yeah, right.
They're doing something right.
I mean, it's the Denver Raptors, man. I don't even want to freaking hear it. Like that, they can call themselves Glendale all they want.
Colorado sounds better.
Yeah, I guess so.
Hire
All
Josh
right.
for your marketing needs.
Well, going from Denver all the way out to Seattle, we had the Houston SaberCats visiting the Seawolves. And honestly, Aaron, you mentioned this off the top, but this may have been Houston's best performance all season. Honestly, I thought that they had a lot going for them. Their defense showed some real resilience, especially within their own 22. On the other side, Seattle must have been flinging fishes before the match or something, because they could not hold on to that frickin' ball. Handling errors galore. In the end, Seawolves just had too many weapons and managed to have a really good 10 minutes at the end of the game to pull away. But it was just 1 point difference all but the last 10, 15 minutes of the match. So, Liam, you want to start us off with some analysis of this one? This is kind of your expertise.
Not really, but I will. But so, yeah, we got dominated in possession. 59% going to Seattle. They had a whole 6 minutes more of attacking for them. Our territory percentage advantage continues to go up every week, which is an odd sort of dichotomy between that. But it's obviously not resulting in any more points. It's just really hard to watch sometimes, because you see these phases where they're operating at a really high level. They had some great inside passes. Their line speed was a lot faster. Joshua Vithi was on his game. Although there was definitely a few instances in which I wish he would have passed rather than take the ball in hand. But hey, that's Josh for you. One thing I noticed was Brock Stoller. He missed 2, or was it 3 kicks? I think it was 2 kicks on this game. That they, had Seattle not had that crazy, last 10 minutes, it could have been really 2 really crucial missed kicks. Fortunately, their offensive phases were able to pick up a little bit of the slack. What I was most impressed by was Houston's defense. They kind of adhered to the bend but don't break mantra, especially when they were backed up against their own try line. They forced some errors on Seattle's part, and they were able to get the ball back and contest in the lineouts. They were really aggressive in the breakdowns, which is something that I think we should probably be doing more of. On the Seattle side, Eric Duchat. That dude is just he just looks like a really fun guy to be around, but his play on the field is just something else. He's everywhere, both offensively and defensively. He's got a really, really long motor. I reviewed the film just a few hours ago, and I can reassure any Seattle fans out there that it was not a try on big, how long was that run? Probably like 50 plus meters. Yeah, he never got the ball down thanks to a lucky tackle. I think it was by Pat O'Toole. And we were able to turn that into a possession, into a pretty productive possession at that as well. In terms of the guys who were making plays for us, Cecil Gaba, he was able. He was made a ton of tackles. He was like Duchal. He was on both sides of the ball, being effective. And this is all coming on the heels of cutting his mullet off and shaving off the porn stash. So there might be something to that. There might be kind of a rebirth for Cecil in that regard. Jamie Deaver
is this like a reverse Samson situation here?
Hey, I will point out most people on the all bad hair team have not performed well. So.
Dude, Blake Rogers is wearing that mullet crown right now, man. Like he looks like a high school hockey player who just
he's like the one guy.
Weird.
He's like the one guy on the old bad hair team playing very well. Okay, just saying the overarching on the whiteboard that is not in this room. Maybe I should go get one. But there's like 5 dudes on the old bad hair team, and I would seeing the results.
Is Connor Cook on that team?
Seeing the results on the haircut, on the post haircut so far, I would encourage haircuts. Well, yeah. Connor Cook, I mean, he's got the dreads that actually work, they're formed. So that's just a lot of work.
Yeah. One last thing I wanted to add about this game, though, was the performance of Jamie Deaver, the loose head prop for the Houston SaberCats. This dude, over the last 4 games in particular, has been performing out of his mind. He runs the ball like he's a back at times. And just like Joshua Vithi, commit 2 to 3 people even at times to bring him down, which ended up opening holes for his teammates that were in support. This dude has been a huge force in that all-Irish front row. He's a big reason why the scrum for Houston has been one of its shining aspects of the season so far. Going forward, I'm really excited to see what this dude's doing.
When it came to the set piece for Houston, it was really weird to see this because based on what I've seen from the Seattle scrum this season, I think they've taken a step back, but not really that they've taken a step back, but more so that they are just where they are. They have gotten a little bit better in the engine room with Api Nakatini and Brad Tucker, but they did beat up the SaberCats a little bit, which I thought was surprising overall, considering, I'd really rate those props a lot. And Pat O'Toole, you talked about that. I thought Ben Krause called it a knock-on by Duchal. I think I thought he called a knock-on and played advantage, and that's where you get with the steal. I don't know. I think that was what I was hearing on.
So when Eric came down with it, he was extending, right? But but the back of his hand, came down first, and like you said, it was knock on it. It rolled forward, so it was it was this close to being a try, but unfortunately,
so I mean, he knocked it on, and then I don't know. Josh out here telling me that Murphy's kicking it through his hand. I don't know, but. Either way, Pat O'Toole, pretty athletic, grabbed that ball, made a possession out of it. I thought it was really good from O'Toole, who, is, in that pool of Eagle hooker prospects, just trying to get in.
Pat had a much better game offensively as well, though. Right. Last week versus Rugby United New York, he kind of disappeared in the offensive phases, but, this time around, the dude's mad athletic, and he can move, unlike some hookers that I know. And he can be effective when he has the ball in space in particular.
I'm not an athletic one, so sorry. But I look at this lineup, and this is a criticism. I'm going to hit you hard. Compared to, I did not think Alejandro Nieto played that well. At number 8, and I really don't know, unless it's a fitness issue, I have no idea, given Aaron Schramm's form, why he only played like 20 minutes, maybe. I think, let me look at this. It was like, because there was a significant energy change when Aaron Schramm came onto the pitch. Yeah, he only played 14 minutes. So this is a guy where you're like, just get him on the pitch. He just needs to be on the pitch. That's my opinion. But so there, tactically, the first half, Houston made all the right moves, but they couldn't break the gain line where it mattered and convert for a try. You have, obviously, Kalinisau's try, but that was an open field and really a broken play. Great on,
Joshua ran over some people.
That was that
offload.
That was like that Pat O'Toole line-out steal, which was crazy. And then, it was fed out by Sam Windsor over to Joshua Vesey, who, makes this nice offload in traffic. Cause, like I say, feed Josh, feed him, because he's that kind of guy who's going to make meters. And he did that. He made 140 meters, and this offload that he made, resulted in a try. And that's just that Fijian connection. But I don't even think it's just that. It's just, he was in the right position. Kalinisau was in the right position. It could have been Mills, or it could have been, Zach Pangilinan, because Zach Pangilinan had a really good game when it came to breaking the gain line and making meters. But when you talk about the seawall, that defense, I don't even think they played that well. The transition defense from Seattle didn't play that well at all. But when it came to holding down their 5-meter line, they played very well. I mean, they frustrated the SaberCats when, SaberCats were making meters, and I thought it was going to turn, and it just didn't. It was really weird. And then part of that, Sam Windsor misses 2 penalties, and it was just I think if Sam makes those, the momentum doesn't get shifted. But even so, they were still in this deep into the game until Sequoia Burke-Combs sort of comes out of nowhere, hanging it out on the wing. They're at the 5-meter, and they just dish this ball out, on a couple passes, and he's not that big of a wing. He's kind of a skinny guy, and he just squirts through that defense and dots down for a try. And that's really where the momentum shifted in this game at the 72-minute mark in favor of the Seawolves. And then about 2 minutes later, you get this, Eric Duchal, the beast, just makes himself be seen. And,
that's been an issue for the SaberCats all season, and especially last season. They allow these fluke ass splash plays that just break the game open and it ups the deficit at just the wrong time in the match. So, it seemed like Houston, when they were only down, by I think it was like 7 points before that Duchal try, a comeback totally looked, absolutely possible. Houston was starting to move the ball a little bit more consistently. But after that, there was just not enough time. Seattle did a really good job at chewing up clock by retaining the ball. It's just the same old issue with the SaberCats week in and week out. I feel like that.
It's just really weird. I want to know if we can collect a stat that talks about shepherding on defense, because Sequoia ends up being named man of the match. He made 5 tackles, really important tackles at the right points in time. But I would say where he was playing defensively, he sort of like shepherded the running pattern of whoever, was in front of him to bring him inside. Even though maybe a SaberCats player was going in for support, he wasn't able to break containment on the wing, to burn Burke-Combs. So I think he played a significant portion of the effort on defense, just sort of, taking that stick and, guiding ball carriers inside. But it was really, it wasn't a good game for anyone. I'll be honest. Well, for the SaberCats, I thought it was a good game overall based on who the competition was. But I think Corey said basically it's the Seattle played 10 minutes of a match and then won the game. That's sort of sort of how I think that ended up happening.
Yeah,
it was a really bad game, and they got away with one. So,
I mean, not gonna lie, the best part of the match though was definitely when Osea scored that try, and Starfire was actually a little bit quiet for once. Nothing better than watching Seattle fans just gape at something that they didn't expect to happen. Like an interception.
That's funny.
So the last game of the weekend was a real roller coaster, I would say. Toronto Arrows traveled all the way down to sunny San Diego to face off against the Legion. And this one, it went down to the very end. It was 27-20 Toronto win. And I'm lovingly referring to Arrows from here on out as the Bracket Busters in honor of March Madness coming up soon. Every single time we think that they're going to win, they end up losing. And every time we think they should lose, they go ahead and win one. This is no exception. I think just about everybody had San Diego taking this one. And clearly we were all wrong. Aaron, tell us how were we wrong on this one? What happened?
Well, I was watching this thing, and you're just loving the way San Diego were playing. They're playing free-flowing, attacking rugby built off, their solid set piece. Well, you know that the Arrows defense is pretty good. They just kept it within reach pretty much until the last 30 minutes. And then Avery Oitomen, and I hashtagged it the Oitomen Empire. However, I was the first person to hashtag it.
What?
I did not come up with it. The Oitomen Empire, thank you, Brian Ray, is the second player hashtag that we got after Brock Stoller. Like Ottoman, Oitomen,
I get it. Freaking nerd.
So,
it's clever. How's that working for you?
Toronto scrum, I compared to with how they played last week in the snow against they played very well, but it didn't get them anything last week, but it got them something this time. They had the pieces. They didn't, I wouldn't say they dictated the tempo, but they maintained parity throughout the match here in this set piece. And then in the lineout, they forced tactical errors by San Diego early in the first half, which is what kept this game within reach. But then in the second half, like I said, getting the ball to Avery Oitomen twice, he scores 2 tries. And then the icing on the cake really is Andrew Quatrin goes over the try line late in the game, for the big boys up front, scoring the last try off a Pete Milazzo assist. And what this was about, and here's to sort of a deep dive into things that don't make sense for most people, but make sense for idiots like me. So this is how close this game was. Meters gained, San Diego 592. Toronto, 573. Line breaks, 3. San Diego, 5. Toronto. Meters kicked, 698 on 24 kicks for San Diego, 578 on 18 kicks for Toronto. And normally there's a big difference in meters gained on kicks with San Diego with who they've played. Passes, 139 to 124. But this is where it gets interesting. Defensively, statistics are really identical. 91% tackles made, 178 tackles made for San Diego with only 18 tackles missed, 179 tackles made with 17 tackles missed. So this game, decided by try, really close. However, San Diego, you can't have double the penalties your opposition has. Okay? Just saying. Just can't have double the penalties.
And Aaron, you said this game was mad close. And honestly, how close was it? You people might be asking. 50-50 split on territory advantage, according to the official stat report issued by the league. And you don't ever see that. It's always like some sort of decimal point, like 48.2 or something like that. No, straight up 50-50% on the territory split. With the possession split. San Diego, they had this with 56%. Still not even that much. Each team had 19 attacking minutes apiece too, which is even stranger on top of the 50-50 split on territory advantage. San Diego, 592 meters gained, as Aaron mentioned, to put him at 4.25 meters per pass. Toronto, 573 meters gained to put him at 4.62 meters per pass. So Toronto was a little bit more productive in terms of the passing game, but San Diego's comeback made that null, I guess. As Aaron mentioned, San Diego specifically had 11 total penalties. There's your killer. That's when you give the other team opportunities to score, and that's exactly how you lose a rugby game.
It's one of those where I was like, huh. Well, I guess we're talking about players missing for the ARC. San Diego had players missing as well. Ryan Matias ends up being scratched on match day with Dylan Owsley going into outside center. Played well. Connor Kearns at left wing. Played well, but you're still not you're missing a bunch of first choice guys. Jordan Manahara goes out early. I think it was it? I don't know. It looked like a pretty bad. I think it looked like a knee. I don't know. But his first touch was a try. So, they just brought him in. Like that was going to be huge. But when it comes to this game, there was another key moment that I thought was hilarious.
What was that?
And that was
the backup scrum half or Toronto Arrows. All 5 foot, 120 pounds of him. I don't know. DiNardo, you're tiny, so.
Is it just a short joke, dude? I felt like you were building up to something significant.
No. The build-up is he was little.
The build-up is
DiNardo,
that he doesn't have a lot of up in terms of his stature. That's what the build.
So DiNardo's like a hobbit, and he tries to pick a fight with Siausi Mahoney, all 6'8", 280 pounds of him, and I was like, oh man, you are lunch, and it didn't go anywhere. It would have been, he was just being a scrum half. It would have been interesting to see how that would have gone. But there's always those moments where a scrum half tries to start a fight with a forward.
It's tradition. You can't buck with tradition.
Yeah, right. Scrum halves are always right, man. Don't you know?
Just ask them. It is that special time of the show when we get to eat our crow on our predictions from last week. So
we didn't eat a whole lot of crow this week, though.
No, I mean, we'll take what we can get out of this one.
Mild crow.
We have to put some maple syrup on it, apparently.
Some real maple syrup, though. None of that Mrs. Buttersworth shit. Straight out of Vermont.
All right, first game Friday night was Rooney at Utah. Final score 47-21. Aaron, you had Rooney by 4. Liam had Rooney by 14. I had Rooney by 2.
Woo!
So Liam, you were the closest there. Good work.
Mm-hmm.
Saturday we had Austin at Glendale. Final score 38-19 in Glendale's favor. Aaron, you had 10 points to Glendale. Liam, you had 9 points to Glendale, and I had 14 points to Glendale. Sunday was Houston at Seattle. And once again, we all picked Seattle on that one. Final score is 27-14 Seattle. Aaron, you had them by 9. Liam had them by 5. I had Seattle by 20. For the Toronto at San Diego match, this is the one that we all got busted on. We all picked San Diego. The final score is 27-20 in Toronto's favor. We said, Aaron, you said San Diego by 10. Liam, you said San Diego by 3, and I said San Diego by 10.
Well, we gotta give out a shout out to listener and follower Steve Monteith. You can follow him at Steve Ronmon. He lives in Alberta. He says 100% tacos, 100% Canadian, and 100% rugby. So is that like 100% sort of Mexican? I don't know.
I don't even follow, so I guess.
It was on Twitter, so shout out to Steve Monteith for giving us stick and being right about the Arrows win. And no, Brian, I know you're going to listen to this, but you are not a rugby Damas because you still got that Utah pick so bad, so wrong.
Then the final prediction round was for the Can-Am game, USA versus Canada. Final score was USA 30, Canada 25. We all had USA winning on this one, and actually we were all really close. Aaron, you said by 6. Liam said by 7. I said by 3. So, yeah, we were all right in range on that one. We knew it was going to be a close game, and look at that, it was. So, Aaron, you want to take us through the MLR standings after round 7?
Well, with San Diego getting, I guess, what was it, a bonus points loss, being within 7. I think that's what it was. They end up still. They had the chance to go back to the top of the table. They did not. NOLA idled this last weekend, stays at the top of the table with 21 points, tied at second on the table, but there is a tiebreaker for this. With 20 points each is Seattle Seawolves and Glendale Raptors. The Seattle Seawolves are 4-2, so the win-loss differential is your first tiebreaker. And then, yes, the win-loss differential for San Diego at 4-2 is greater. But guess what? Bonus points matter. Or table points matter. And then at 5th, you've got at 4-1, but only with 18 points is Rugby United New York. At 3-3, the Toronto Arrows. Sorry about that. With 16 points on the table, and Utah just skidding right now. 1-3-1 with 7 table points. And the SaberCats were unable to get a final score in to try and get a losing bonus point. They're continuing their skid at 1-4 with 6 table points, and Austin remains the loneliest number with 0 wins and only 2 table points.
Yeah, the top of the chart is really stinking close, and then it's just like it just falls off at Utah, falls to the floor. So
yeah, it goes from 16 points at Toronto to 7 points at Utah. So yeah, that's a pretty steep cliff right there.
I think we definitely have a good battle going into the second half of the season for the top 4 spots. But yeah, I think we pretty much know where the bottom of the table is going to finish at this point. So barring miracles. So maybe there'll be a miracle this week, which brings us to Week 8 preview. So we start Friday night off with Toronto traveling to Rooney. And I think this is a pretty anticipated game, at least in my opinion. We've got, the 2 expansion teams meeting up in the North. This will be the first game in New York. Pretty exciting stuff. This is going to be live at 7 p.m. Eastern on ESPN+.
Jesus.
Nice.
That's horrible because, living in Arizona, time change, although we don't spring forward, we change time zones. So, man, I'm going to have to record that.
So that's going to be like noon your time, right?
Yeah, something like that.
What's your predictions for this one, guys?
The Arrows could win this. They really could, especially if all the guys they get back from the ARC are healthy. But I'm going, provided Cahal Marsh is able to go, New York -5. They've really improved in the scrum. They've got dynamic backs, and they've got dynamic back row players. They can win this at home and really set the tone for their homestand coming up to really push the rugby message in New York this spring.
I'm going to go with Rugby United New York -9. I agree with Aaron. I think the Toronto Arrows could win this game, but I don't think they are. So yeah, one of Toronto's big problems has been defending ball movement on the outside, and that's where Rooney has really been excelling. So in the end, I think this is New York's game to lose.
And I think we're all gonna go Rooney on this one. I'm gonna say Rooney by 5, but I do think it's gonna be a tough game, and I think it's gonna be a close game. So I'm actually really looking forward to this one. Also, real quick, Victor Perez from our sister show En La Melee stopped by or gave me a call earlier and just wanted me to know, or wanted you guys to know, that he's going to be at the match. And he'll tweet out his location a little bit closer to the game, so be sure to be watching for that on the Twitters. But he'll be there. Be sure to look him up. He'll be wearing an MLR beanie there at the match. So the second game of the weekend features Seattle traveling to Austin. I think you guys can probably predict what our expectations on this one are. But Aaron, what's your guess?
I'm going Seawolves -10. I know it's not the point lines that you guys got. The issue really is, I think Austin's going to be able to keep it close. Seattle's attack is not nearly as dynamic as Glendale's is. However, they're going to lose this game. There's no way.
Yeah.
So what's that number, Aaron?
-10 Seawolves.
Thanks.
Yeah, I very much agree. I'm going Seawolves -20 on this one. No offense to the Austin players, but this is just, get ready for 0-7. Maybe the comeback starts after this game, but it's not starting this week.
Well, you never know what's going to happen on the road. That being said, I am going freaking huge for Seattle. I'm going to go ahead and say that they're going to win by 30. Because why not?
Wow.
And I forgot to mention before, that is going to be on Facebook Watch at 7 p.m. Eastern. At 8 p.m. Eastern, also on Facebook Watch, is NOLA coming back from their bye week, traveling to Houston. What do you guys think on this one?
It's also on Cube 57. I think that's the channel number.
Yep.
In Houston, if you are local. So it is available via linear. NOLA -10. NOLA scores a lot of points. It could be bigger if their defense decides to play. But they've played most of their games pretty close. But what they can do on attack versus what you can do on attack is significantly better. So usually they score like 40 or 50, and you score about 30 or 40. So that seems to be the game plan for the NOLA Gold. So NOLA -10.
I'm going to go with the Houston SaberCats upsetting NOLA. Yeah, I'm going to go with Houston upsetting NOLA -2. I think this is the week where he starts to get things together. People are really motivated going into this next week of practice. I know this for a fact. Also, with all the Irish players on this team, and Coach Fitzpatrick included, and St. Patrick's Day weekend, hey, the luck of the Irish could come through on this one. Houston SaberCats -2.
Fitzy's is standing right behind you right now, isn't he? That's where this prediction is coming from.
Yeah. He wants to play mommy or daddy with me.
I'm going to go NOLA by 20 on this one, just because they have been playing some really good rugby, and they have got guys that can move the ball really stinking fast. So it'll be it should be a fun game. Should be a lot of scoring, like Aaron pointed out. So I'm looking forward to it as well. Final game also on Saturday, and so just to update us, we got 7 o'clock start, an 8 o'clock start, and then a 9 o'clock start Eastern time Saturday. Is San Diego traveling to Glendale. And this is going to be on 9news.com as the live stream, or in the Glendale, Denver area, you can check it out on the NBC affiliate, 9 News. So, Aaron, what do you got on this one?
I don't know. I'm sort of on the fence, but they will get some. Well, do they get anyone back? I might have to change this pick, but I'm very confident San Diego is going to play well. Even though they're at altitude, I'm going, San Diego -5. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I think defense is really not going to matter, but Glendale is going to Glendale's going to do what Glendale does. They're going to put up 1,000 meters, and they're going to cough up the ball 15 times, and San Diego is going to be able to get away, with an unconverted try more because – their props carry a bit better. And their back row right now, well, I would say their combination of their back row is better. Psalm Wuching has really developed. I think he missed out on a lot of development last season. I think he was injured, but if he had been healthy and played in the MLR, he would have had a significant amount of coaching that was input, and he would have gotten better. And I think he's blossoming really well at San Diego. But I think they just, I guess when it comes down to it, Joe Peterson is still better than Will McGee. And I love Will McGee. He's one of my favorite people, but he's just more creative. But like I said, we'll see. But San Diego -5.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you on that one. I'm going to go San Diego -5. I think they play a little bit. I think they play a little bit of a faster game, and I think Glendale's going to make the mistake that's going to really cost them. I think San Diego is just really tight on both sides of the ball. So, yeah.
I think just to make Josh happy, I'm going to go ahead and predict Glendale to win on this one.
You're weak-minded, Corey.
I am. No, I think the Raptors are still the Raptors, and I think they, especially since they'll be back to full strength next week. I don't know. And San Diego, of course, lost last week, so we don't know where they're going to be in their headspace. So I think it's possible that Glendale will win. I'm going to put them up by 7 on this one.
I will make a statement here. The Raptors are still the Raptors. They did get better. I think they will make the playoffs, but San Diego is going to beat you this weekend.
Fair enough. We'll see what happens on Saturday. So that does it for our preview. Normally we finish the show each week with some questions from Bob. You guys up for it?
Lightning round, I guess? Let's make it quick.
It seems like that's kind of the status quo here. We're doing lightning rounds every week. So, All right, starting us off, Johnny 24 wants to know: are the arrows actually good or not?
Sort of, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I'd say they're good. They have so many Cap Canadians. They got a pretty good scrum. They're middle of the pack. They're good, but they're not great.
Okay. Conky 2195. Is Old Glory DC allowed to use Adidas as a sponsor? This is for their kits that they released pictures of this week, instead of X-Blades.
I have no idea.
The answer is they can wear whatever the heck they want in the exhibition season because they're only an associate member. They sit on the board, they vote, they're on committees, but they are not fielding a team in Major League Rugby competition. So design and all that stuff takes time. If you notice, the Free Jacks have unbranded kit. So there you go.
Ayul wants to know, do you have any info about the format of next season?
No clue. Season seems set at 16 games regular, though.
I don't have any matches, but it's looking likely that there might be 2 divisions in the league next year.
East and West, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
SD Yeti. Is there a Legion injury status?
So Manahara, AC joint sprain, apparently. Everyone else, I have no idea.
Yeah, I got no info on that.
V Wolf. In another thread today, this is over on our Reddit page. Give a plug for it. Reddit.com/r/MLRugby. Someone mentioned players not kitting up for a given week, sometimes playing for local clubs. Is this a real thing?
It is, but there is a limit.
Down here in Houston, there's a few players, like in particular, Kieran Farmer, Joe Kelly, Matt Almeida, and Irving Carcamo. All those guys will typically suit up for the West Houston Lions if they don't make the 23. But yeah,
important to know that the clubs that the NCC, some committee at USA Rugby said that if you end up playing 4 matches for your professional team, you are no longer able to suit for your club the rest of this season. So, yeah.
So those players may be going away sooner rather than later from the club scene.
Indeed.
Final question. Clutch 0364. Has anyone heard any news or rumors about Tony Lamborn?
No.
What was the situation there? Remind me.
He got injured. I mean, that's about it.
It happens in rugby sometimes, People do get hurt.
All right. And I think that does it. So on our way out, you guys have any final thoughts?
Nah. Have a good one, guys. Keep it real. I'm told that the World League will have some more BS this week. So I guess we're all going to have something else to get pissed off about later in the week. So there's that.
I get to make more memes. Right now, I'm considering whether or not I want to finish the work that I have to do tonight in the morning. I should know from high school through college and everything that's never a good idea. Kind of want to just go to bed.
Come on, there's got to be a Red Bull in the fridge somewhere.
If by Red Bull you mean Miller Lite?
No. That takes you the wrong way. You need to go up, not down.
Four Loko?
I'm not 16 anymore, unfortunately. I honestly think I would have a heart attack.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. On our way out, please note a couple things. All opinions expressed on this broadcast are those of the hosts and guests and do not necessarily reflect the beliefs or practices of Major League Rugby teams or the league. Aaron Castro is employed by Major League Rugby. Liam Madigan-Freed is employed by the West Houston Lions and Houston Sabercats. Be sure to join us next week. We will be live on YouTube Monday night and available on your favorite podcast platform every Wednesday morning. If you like what we do, please subscribe to our YouTube channels and our iTunes feed. It helps us get discovered by other folks. And be sure to share your own news, views, and abuse with us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. And one final plug, please consider giving us a 5-star review on iTunes. That does also help folks find us, and we will read that out on the show. Thank you so much for listening. We will see y'all next week. Until then, watch some rugby.